So I've been a part of the Mineimator animation community for a while now, and I've actually created a lot of animations myself, but something I noticed, specifically with beginners, is that in their animations, they tend to have a fundamental misunderstanding of the 12 principles, which is honestly fair, because even if you know about the 12 principles of animation, it can be really difficult to actually apply that knowledge in your animations, which is why I'm making this video. So whether you're new to Mineimator or you've been animating in Mineimator for a while, stick around, because you might learn something new. So the first principle of animation that we're going to cover is going to be squash and stretch. And basically squash and stretch is when you squish and mush things in your animation to kind of give them more impact and give them more weight and add more life to them. Just as a basic example, I can just get this guy right here. Let's add a folder, don't worry about it. Just name this ST for no reason. So we can just animate him starting from up here, falling down, boop, bouncing back up a bit, and landing back down. And then we can just add keyframes that we'll use normally. If you're wondering exactly when to use which type of keyframes, I'm planning on making a video about that, so just comment if you'd like to see that. Boom. We have a very basic fall and bounce. Nothing too good, nothing too crazy, but you notice that it feels really stiff. It feels like Steve is a very solid object. Let's change it. Let's add some squash and stretch. So first we can make it to like about, let's make it more steep, like makes that like exponential, and we're doing that so that like this point kind of stretch him. And another thing to keep note with squash and stretch is that the mass should be generally the same. Which, if you don't know what that means, basically just if you make him taller, you should also make him thinner. That's basically what that means. And this is the point of impact. So we can squish him down a bit, and then spread him out a little bit. Then squish him up. You're gonna squish him back up a wee bit. Squish here a wee bit. And at this point you can go back to normal. It looks a bit wonky, but we can fix that later. You know, that looks better already. You go here. We can just make that like some slight squash and stretch here. And then at this point, squish them down, but not by too much since it's not that heavy. Stretch him out, and then put him back to how he is. And we use quadratic, just because why not? Now compare this to how it was before. Boom. That feels way more lively. That feels way more lively. Just look at that. Boom. He bounces and he lands. That just looks so much better already. And we can just use the squash and stretch as we use it here to just give our animation more life and to make everything look more lively. Look at that. That's neat. That's really cool. The next principle of animation that we're going to cover is going to be anticipation, which anticipation is basically when if you kick a football, you have to wind your leg back before you actually kick the football. If you throw a punch, you pull your hand back to actually throw the punch. And that might sound like obvious. You may think, oh, of course, how could anyone even like get that wrong in animation? And I'm going to show you quickly the right way to do anticipation and the wrong way to do anticipation. So I think we'll actually, let me set up the scene real quick. Alright, so we got these two pillars, I guess you could call them, that are next to these balls, right? And the red one is going to be the bad example, the green one is going to be the good example. For the red one, it's going to be really simple. Just have, I think we'll start the motion at frame 5, and then we'll just make it, boom, go like that. Now for the sphere, just wait to the frame of contact. Then just move it down that way. Make it exponential, and we got what? Make this exponential. Boom. We can make that a little softer. There we go. Boom. It's very basic. Just boom, hitting up. But this lacks anticipation because it just like immediately goes from like default boom to the outward motion. But for the green one, you'll see what we can do. Well, there's two ways we can do this. We can either, I'll show you the lazy way, then I'll show you the better, the way I choose to do. You can simply put this as this. So it goes back a bit. And that counts as anticipation, but that's not how I like to do it. The way I like to do it is I like to do it myself. And then boom. You'll notice that the green one has a lot more anticipation, right? Because you see the red one just goes from boom, hits outward, but the green one winds up before it hits. And just for the sake of visual consistency, we can just animate this. This going forward. Boom. And as you can see, the green one has more anticipation and more wind up, and looks overall more high quality than the red one, which is just straight up going forward. There's no need for a side by side for this one, but you can see them side by side, but still. So the next principle of animation that we're going to cover is going to be arcs, and arcs are really important in your animations because they are basically the curved paths that objects take in your animation. And something about like objects moving from like one point to another point just straight on is not really satisfying, or not nearly as satisfying as an object that like swings in a nice curved path. And that's really important because at the end of the day, animation is just like basically making food for people's eyes, right? So at the end of the day, you just have to make your animation as satisfying and gratifying as possible, and arcs are a good way to do that. I'm not going to be creating a new example of arcs for this video, but I do have a pretty old unfinished animation I made a while back. I didn't really upload this one, but you can see arcs in it where if you look at it as she swings the spear, you notice the arc. You can see the arc, like starting from here, it swings. In fact, I'll just reduce the tempo so we can like follow this. Right? You'll see it goes like this. You can see the arced path, the curved path, and then it hits him and swings around like that. You can see the curved path that it took. Just look at that. Round, hits him like that, and you can see again, even though here, yeah, arc, a nice curved path that I took again. And then once again, you can see again here, oh, this does look a bit wonky. You can identify the curved path that she just took by flipping around, and then as she's magically floating in the air for some reason, she swings back, and then another curved path that you can see being taken there. And those big wide swings are actually really satisfying for like the viewer. Well, if this was like animated a bit better, it'd be more satisfying, but you know, we do what we can. And as you can see in motion, you can identify the arcs that are going across as it spins. And this is really important for your animations because you need to keep in mind the fact that you need to be guiding your viewer's eyes, and arcs are a good way to do that very easily because where it starts, you follow the head of the spear as it swings around. Your eyes are kept there and your eyes are like tracking it, which is really important. So just keep that in mind whenever you're animating a movement. Try and see if you can give it like an arc or a swing. Alright, so the next animation principle that we're going to be covering, we're actually going to be covering two at once. Oh, they're basically the same thing, but they're also two different things. I will explain in a bit. We're going to be doing follow through and overlapping action. And well, it's easier for me to show you than to explain it to you. So let me set up a quick scene. Okay, so we got a quick scene set up here. We will animate in a second. with Steve with a pickaxe standing in front of cobblestone. Essentially, we're gonna animate him pulling his arm back, then lifting the pickaxe up, and then boom, bashing it down on the cobblestone, trying to mine it. And I will show you exactly how follow through and overlapping action affect that. So first, let me animate like a very basic version before we add follow through and overlapping action. Alright, so we got this very basic animation here of Steve lifting his pickaxe and slamming it down onto the cobblestone. Nothing too crazy. But you notice it feels off. And that's because this pose starts changing at this frame. Boom. New pose. Boom. New pose. And blocking out your animation like this is perfectly fine. But even with like the keyframe styles, it still feels a bit lifeless because there's no overlapping action. All the actions are happening, or they're starting at the same time, they're ending at the same time, and there's a bit of just, you know, it feels a bit dry, you know, it doesn't feel lifelike. But we can fix that by adding overlapping action, which is actually incredibly easy to do. All we have to do, you need to think about the hierarchy of movements that are going on here. Basic easy way to think of this is the torso is essentially the main parent, and then anything connected to the torso can be considered like its child. So we can keep the body keyframes where they are, but then we can shift these keyframes, like even just 2 frames is fine. I think 1 frame should be okay. Yeah. You can see we pushed this back. I just moved this backwards just because I felt like it'd look better, and I think it did. But change that. This doesn't have anything to do with overlapping action. I just think it looked better. Okay, so as you can see, in my opinion anyway, it looks quite a bit better now. Although I think we could change these to quadratic just to make it look a bit smoother, all things considered. And also, I think good thing to know when adding overlapping action is that sometimes you'll need to like space out your keyframes a bit. Like here. Although we can keep these a bit closer, spread that one out a bit. Yeah, you can see here, it looks better already, in my opinion, because now the actions, realistically speaking, your hands wouldn't move at the same time as the rest of your body, right? So as you can see, it looks a bit more lifelike, to me anyway, and I really like how it looks. Alright, so now we're gonna, wait, where'd my glasses go? There you go. So now we're gonna go through follow through, which is in a way similar to overlapping action, but well, the way we're going to be using it for this example, it's different than overlapping action, but a lot of the time you'll be using overlapping action to add follow through, because when you shift the keyframes, they go off at different times. For this example, we're just going to get like a sphere and a cube. So for this, we're going to create a very simple animation of the ball, let's say starting here, like dashing into this cube and like slamming it away and like sending it flying. And I'm going to show you how follow through plays a role in that. Basic animation we have, link's fine, boom, then just really quickly zips in. We'll add some squash and stretch. We'll squish it down and squish it forward. But you'll notice that it feels a bit weird, right? Because the way it comes to just a complete and sudden stop after it hits the cube is really awkward, because in real life, objects don't just come to a complete stop after doing a motion like this. Unless she hit the cube and then it stayed still. Now this motion makes a bit more sense, but with the way we have it, it shouldn't just come to a complete standstill after they're coming in contact, and that's where follow through comes into play. Follow through shouldn't be like anything crazy. It just needs to be a little something that just shows that, yeah, the motion that you did just came to an end. What is it? Why does it look a bit weird? Yeah, that's fine. It hits it, and its momentum stops. And you know, just because we want to be fun, we want to be fun. We can add more squash and stretch. We just do that. Turn it into like a little discus thing. And make this instant. And then make this regular. It bashes into it. You know what we can also do. I'm getting a bit carried away, but I'm just having fun. Now see, that looks good. That looks good. It bashes into it and then springs it away. In fact, let's make it hold for like a decent amount of time. This. Now that looks good. Okay, we actually fixed the problem. You can see now, it makes contact, right? All momentum has stopped, but then as it springs it, you'll notice it shifts forward a bit, which that's just what we want. Just a little bit more movement to show that all momentum wasn't lost, because realistically, all momentum would not be lost. Look at that. Neat. Alright, so that's where I'm gonna end the video, because frankly it's taking a long time to edit all this, and I'm actually getting really tired because the video is getting really long. So if you enjoyed the video, please subscribe, leave a like, comment, and if we get like 20 likes, 30 likes, I'll make a part 2 to this where I go over the other principles, because like I said before, there's 12 of them and we only covered 4. I'm going to be making a lot more Mineimator content, so if you enjoy Mineimator or animation in general, please, leave a like and subscribe. Besides that, I have nothing else to say, so hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Peace.